good but no, great winner. In the second half of this year, growth officially, at best, will be 1% of GDP. I don't think it'll be that. I think in the last quarter it'll be a -1. And that's when this money will start to slam in. Unemployment, which is around 22 3/8%, will probably move back to 20% over the next couple of years. Could even get even better than that as this money exhausts itself. And that's the scenario I see, that they're not going to go to austerity. And the Europeans are going to have to turn around and start rebooting and doing the same thing. If they don't, their economies will go into the sewer, so to speak.
Well, Chris, I think this would explain, basically, in one of your recent letters, you said the Fed had two opportunities, two things they could do. One is they could simply contract the economy, and if they did, well, we'd go into deflation and depression, or they could put a lot more money back into circulation, and this would lead to inflation. But really what they're doing, rather than actually putting additional money in, they're simply releasing the money that they've tied up for this last almost 2 years simply by this process of paying interest. I think that's really fascinating, and I hope our listeners understand what you're really saying. They're no longer going to pay the bank's interest. They've never done this before, but they've sterilized these countless billions of dollars of money, and now those are all going to be made available for lending. Is that right?
That's right. And this is going to probably have we'll call it, I'll coin a word, avalanchal impact. And it's what Congress won't do and won't have to do. The Fed will just do what they want to do. Or the owners of the Fed, which are the Wall Street firms and the banks in New York and the banks in Europe, they'll get what they want. A prolongation, a continuation of what's going on. And, they could keep this up for a while might be several years, and continue to pile debt upon debt upon debt. Where it would break, it's hard to say. But sooner or later, it will break. And when it does, the whole bottom will fall out like it did. We'll use Weimar as an example in 1924 after the great hyperinflation. And just a grievous deflationary depression that brought Adolf Hitler into power, as well as Benito Mussolini, both of whom were financed from New York and London. And so here we are doing the same thing over again, and you don't have to be a genius to figure it out. All you have to do is read history. It's all there. And what gets me is I see all of these people who write, and they don't get into it. A handful do. And the rest of them don't understand history. And they can't understand what's going on. That's why when they make these choices and recommendations, they are wrong almost all the time.
But
and it's all there in my publication, and some others too. But they fail to heed. And I think one of the reasons why is each publication like mine that comes out with these startling facts that become reality in time, they all believe in one thing. They know that there's somebody behind the scenes doing all this stuff, and they're doing it to bring about world government. They understand the plan. And the ones that don't, forget it. And some of them do understand the plan, and they still go the other way. And some of them I've known for 30 and 40 years. I don't know what they're thinking about.
Well, our telephone number is 1-888-24-LIBERTY, 1-888-24-LIBERTY, or 464-8295. That's 464-8295. Right here at Radio Liberty, if you have a question for Bob. But I think this is a monumental change. Now, this is the first thing I'd heard of it. We've been talking about how they were paying interest on the reserves deposited with the Federal Reserve System for some time. Now they're going to stop doing that. And, of course, that then is going to force many of these banks to start lending again. And this all about about lending. But, of course, more and more of these banks are getting into more and more problems. Certainly the commercial loans are going to have to be refinanced very soon. A lot of the major international corporations are going to have to get their loans refinanced. If they can get them refinanced, fine. If they can't get them refinanced, well, there's going to be serious consequences. Certainly, however, we keep having people losing their homes and losing their jobs. Can it be interesting to see what this latest move of the Fed is going to bring? We'll be back in just a moment. Well, this is Dr. Stan. We have Joe from Arkansas commenting that he read an article in the Arkansas Gazette about some bank that was working with the FDIC, and the FDIC is trying to get them out of debt. But the more the FDIC works with them, why, the less money they seem to have. So go ahead and pick up the story there, Bob.
I lost my train of thought.
Well, you were basically saying, we were talking about how the FDIC works with these banks. Supposedly,
right.
You'll get them out of debt. And so this debt bank, however, wasn't in debt. They actually had excess funds, but those funds seem to be decreasing the longer the FDIC worked with them to help them.
Well, first of all, there's something in the vicinity of like 4,000, 5,000 banks that are in a similar position, and they have FDIC employees or the controller of the currency employees running their banks. And there's only two conclusions you can come to. Either the local bank in Arkansas lied about what was in their bank, in other words, the books were not what they should have been, or the Fed, the FDIC came in and used the money or did something with the money in order to unqualify this bank, and it was either, I don't know whether it went under or was taken over. The point is it's out of business. And that goes on all the time. And, 200 banks this year is going to be nothing. They're going to continue to do that, even though the Fed may use quantitative easing through the method that I've just described, which will be very subtle. I think the pros will start to catch on about after 2 or 3 months, because they really don't want to know, because they want the market to go up. And, of course, the market's manipulated, and I won't get into that here, but it's getting even more obvious what's going on in world markets, and particularly the U.S. markets, and in gold and silver. And sooner or later, the house of cards is going to fall. But if they do this quantitative easing, they're going to do it for 2 years. They want to take it through the next election so they can get another dummy elected who'll do what they want to do. And, you just stay there, look good, talk good, we'll tell you what to say, and that's the end of that. And that's why they're doing this. I think that they have abandoned any sort of thought of success in keeping their bought-off congressmen in tow. A lot of them are going to lose, and they're going to be out of there, which means that the Illuminists are going to have to go back and start bribing people again, which is no problem for them. It'll take them 6 months to a year to accomplish that. The question is, what can we get done in the meantime?
Okay, fine. Anything else, Joe, before we let you go?
Well, I suppose it might be interesting to kind of follow the story of banks taken over by the FDIC to see if there's a pattern of banks apparently losing money when the FDIC takes them over.
I think what you're going to see, of course, more and more banks being taken over. And, of course, I think that we're moving towards just a few major big banks when this all gets over. Okay? Thanks so much for calling. Let's go to Bob from Spokane. Hi, Bob. Do you have a question or comment for our guest?
Oh, I just want to thank Bob for his book, None Dare Call It Conspiracy. Years ago, I read it, and it woke me up years ago. And, Bob, I just appreciate all the work you did on that book. I know you gave copies away for free just to wake people up, right?
Well, that was actually Gary Allen, but I think Bob was a friend of Gary's, weren't you?
Right, and I helped him finance it.
Oh, you did? Okay, I didn't know that. Okay, go ahead.
No, I don't.
Yeah,
most people don't know that.
Bob's done so much for us, it's unbelievable. Hey, Bob, you know, that book spawned so many people. It spawned people like Alex Jones. I mean, you and Dr. Stan have done tremendous things, but look what Alex Jones has done. Let me ask you another thing, Bob. Are you sitting down now?